we start? So, hello, Dr. Mona Lisa.
Hi, Dr. Mona Lisa.
Yes, yes. So it's my pleasure and my honor to have Dr. Mariam with us. Mariam Navsa from South Africa, medical doctor for 44 years, now retired, having her own practice at Cape Town, South Africa. And she is also the author of 2 books, and these books are very, very informative, very insightful, and I will be taking you all through these books that she wrote. One, Overcoming Shame, Blame, and Pain, and the other, Unchained, Soaring on the Wings of Serenity. She's a mother of 3 and grandmother of 3, so she has a life which is full of abundance and gratitude, and who better than her to take us through exploring gratitude. So, Mariam, welcome.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I feel extremely grateful. Yeah, I feel extremely grateful for the opportunity to remind myself about the importance of gratitude, and of course, whoever else is here with us is to share that together and maybe even get some insights from others as well on the topic. So thank you.
Absolutely. Because this is something, that we don't normally think about in the hustle and bustle of life. We are grateful from within, but we never express gratitude to the people whom we are indebted to. So take me through your backstory. What brought you to medicine first? As a woman in South Africa, what brought you to medicine?
Okay, well, I did not want to study medicine. So let me tell you that first and foremost. I had no intention. My interest was in the arts, and I said to my dad, I would love to do music, even though I didn't play an instrument. And my dad just scoffed at it and he said to me, "What? Don't be ridiculous. You'll just do 1 or 2 things. You either become a doctor or you become a lawyer." And that was it. And so I went and studied medicine and was very, very unhappy in the first couple of years of being in practice. Probably for 2 reasons. The one was that I was trained at a tertiary institution and I immediately went into primary care, which is very different. You're not prepared for it at all. And I think the other was that I was very disease focused. I was not in touch with the people suffering from the illness. And I eventually got to realize that that was what it was about, that there was this disconnect. I was not able to relate to the people, yes, to the disease, fascinated with all the various diseases. And then I went and specialized in family medicine, and that just flipped things for me completely. Because family medicine is very context focused. It's focused not just on the disease, but on the person who is suffering from the disease. And that really just changed my entire life when I switched into family medicine, specialized in it, and then I taught it to medical doctors specializing in family medicine for 20 years. So yeah, that's how I got into medicine. And it was since then that I really started enjoying medical practice, which I still do today. I'm still in practice at the moment, and very, very much loving it.
So that became your passion and purpose. Then from there, you moved on to teaching family medicine at the University of Cape Town. So how was that part of your life?
So after I completed my master's in family medicine, the University of Cape Town asked me to stay on as a teacher and facilitator, which I did. And that was just another amazing journey because I grew so much and I got to know so much about myself in that process of facilitating the growth of others. So you know what they say, you teach best what you most need to learn. And that really was my journey in family medicine. Changed my entire perception of why I practice medicine, my relationships with myself, particularly with my family. I had a very struggling, difficult relationship with my son, particularly. But it was through family medicine that, there was a point when I took my son to a psychologist thinking that he needed help because he was struggling at school and had a bit of a learning disability. And the psychologist said to me, there's nothing wrong with your son, but you might want to have a look at yourself. And that really kind of shook me.
I know. Like, doctor, heal thyself. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, and it's been a long journey. It continues to be a journey. It never ever ends, which is what's so beautiful about life. It never ends. There's always that ongoing attempt to seek that wisdom and to grow. Yeah.
Mariam, you chose a very, very unusual topic for your first book, overcoming shame, blame, and pain. What got you into that orbit?
Yeah, so it is, the book is essentially about my own journey. So you know how we get trapped in that cycle of when we are shamed and the pain that comes from blaming a lot of ourselves, criticizing ourselves, and we then go and pass that pain onto others by shaming them. So it becomes a cycle. And the story is about my journey, which was a challenging one through my childhood, painful, unhappy, and how I moved through that and how I managed to get beyond that shame, blame, and pain. But it's also the tale of another individual who was suffering with drug addiction. And his journey, and very two different people. Yeah, on the one hand, you've got a doctor seemingly successful with a good life, and on the other, someone society would admire, and on the other hand, an individual that society frowns on, literally marginalizes. But both these individuals going through the same journey, and that's what the book is about, and just with suggestions on how to overcome this. Giving insight into our journeys and how we managed with it. And it's through that journey, in fact, when you talk about the topic of gratitude, it was through gratitude when I look back on those times of pain, when I got to realize that, oh my God, I had this magnified vision and feel of all the pain. And in the process, I missed. So I'm just going to admit this individual. I missed the things, the beautiful things that was actually happening in my life at the time. And the amazing things that the people that I perceived as pain in me was actually contributing to my life. And when I got in touch and felt so grateful for that, oh my gosh, everything just flipped. The anger, the resentment, the pain just dissipated, because now all I was engaged in, oh my God, my parents did so much for me. Who I am today is so much because of them. And it just kind of shriveled and diminished that pain and anger that I held towards them. Yeah.
And your second book is, just on the other side of the polarity, wings of serenity, soaring on the wings of serenity. So by then it seems you had attained a level of calm and, peace within. Was that so?
Well, even when I started writing, when I wrote the first book, it was at the right time, because by then everything I wrote and I felt came from a place of love. I was way beyond those feelings. So the book was about the journey. But the second book was about, I began to realize in practice that I was quite challenged by people who were constantly whining, complaining, constantly being the victim. And I became very conscious of my attitude and thoughts towards these people. And I realized, that needed to change. And I needed to get more in touch and understand better why people, what they went through when they got themselves caught up in this victim mode or victimhood. So the book is about victimhood, helping people understand it, and helping those who live with people who feel constant victims, how they can help deal with those individuals. So that's what that second book was about.
Awesome. So now we can plunge into our topic, okay? exploring gratitude. So what
Hi,
is
Usha.
gratitude
Nice to have you
for
here.
you? Ramya is
Hi,
also here.
Ramya.
Hi, Ramya. So what does gratitude mean to you? What is your interpretation of gratitude?
So, wow, I don't know that there are words to describe what gratitude is and what it means. So yes, we socialize our children into saying thank you, into being thankful, but we know that it is so much more than that. It's an emotion and it's a practice, it's an act as well, so it's the two combined. But the emotion is really indescribable, because what that emotion does, and we'll talk more about the benefits of it, is it gets you in touch with that deep core of who you are. It not only does that, but it gets you to be in touch with the core of who others are, and to be in touch with our source, whatever name it is people give to our source, this absolute magnificence. And it's through gratitude that you get that sense of the interconnectedness, the beauty of us being part of each other and being part of this magnificence that is just beyond our comprehension. So that's gratitude. And gratitude has been a practice that's been in the ancient cultures, philosophies for centuries. But the beautiful part is, and this comes from me with a bit of the scientific mind, is that it's only been in the last 20, 25 years that there's been an incredible amount of research that's actually been done on gratitude. And the results are fascinating. We now know of the impact, and this has been measured in studies, of the impact on our overall well-being, our sense of satisfaction, of peace, of calm. But when they look specifically at its impact on, first of all, our physical well-being, and looked at how people's, when they actually looked into the brain and they looked at these different neural pathways that are actually formed because of gratitude, the hormones that are being released of it, people started calling gratitude the natural antidepressant, because that's what it does. Relieves it, it reduces those stress hormones, releases stress and anxiety. It increases our resilience to deal with adversity and challenges that come in our life. And for me, the beautiful experience of it was the strengthening of relationships. My gosh, my relationship with myself, my parents, my children just took another turn when I started being grateful for things. So the list is endless. We can go on. Your attention and focus just goes up the wall when you, and we're talking now about practicing gratitude on a regular basis. So the benefits are endless. There's just no, and again, like I said, now we have so much research and data to back all of that. So yeah, it's just amazing. It's become such a hackneyed saying that I've got to be grateful, but if we really and truly focused and practiced on it, its benefits are just unbelievable.
Yes, true. And it does contribute immensely to our holistic development, the personality. Otherwise, without gratitude, we have one very important aspect, emotional development stunted or completely blunted. Isn't that so?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, yeah. It helps us get rid of those emotions that hold us back and that limit our lives.
Right. Today we are going through this, the pandemic. We already have the second phase and impending imminent third phase. There's been a lot of bereavement and grief in many families. Children have lost their parents, spouses have lost their mate, life companion. How does gratitude, in your opinion, help us to cope with grief, bereavement, and loss? Does it play an important role in getting us to reconcile ourselves with bereavement in our life?
So, it's almost, if you say to someone, who is in the process of grieving, and of course there are all kinds of losses. There's the loss of loved ones, there's a loss of income, there's been the loss of jobs, there's the loss of homes, loss of self-esteem. So there's all kinds of losses, and everybody deals with it very differently. That's why the grieving process is so unique to various individuals. So if you say to someone who's in the process of grieving, and you would say to them, be grateful, and say, I mean, that's going to sound almost ridiculous. You know, I'm in pain. I have lost. And you know, someone's talking to me about gratitude and being grateful. So it kind of almost sounds almost absurd to say that to someone. But the problem of the grieving process is that loss, that sense of loss, and that energy that goes with it can be so intense to the point that your entire focus is on the loss. And that's the problem, because when our focus is on the loss, so intensely on the loss, we lose sight of what there is, what is around us. Even lose sight of the family around you, the support around you, because you're so engrossed and taken up. And that can go for some people weeks, months, even years. So the point is that you embrace the grieving. Yes, it's a loss. Embrace it. But at the same time, while embracing that and feeling all of that, we can be grateful for the ones who have parted, who've lost. The memories they've left for us, those moments of joy, the very fact that perhaps I was there to be with them in their last moments, to be able to tell them how much I love them. And then when you're at the services, there's a community. Yes, some people are not all that good at offering their condolences, but you're so grateful that these people are here to support you in all of that. Be grateful for the ones that you are still left with. Be grateful for the fact that I've lost a job, but there's every chance there's another door opening up for me, a better one. So it can be combined, and it's in the combination of that we are able to cope better with the grief, so that the grieving process is not prolonged, that we're not saddled with things like guilt about I should have, why didn't I, it's because of me, etc. kind of thing. So, oh no, there's an absolute great deal to be said about gratitude and grief. It certainly does add to the transformative process when we're grieving.
You narrowed down to a very, very important aspect of human psyche, and that is, you know, when there is bereavement, we feel alone. But if you are able to look at it from a different perspective, from a different lens of gratitude, then you know you have the others around you who are going to support you in what you look upon as a lonely journey ahead. This brings me to another very important aspect of our life, and that is, you know, when people have done wrong to us, or we perceive that they have done wrong to us, and we find it difficult to forgive them. But if we don't forgive, then we will be pulled into the quagmire of very low feelings. So, do you think forgiveness ennobles us? Is it an ennobling emotion?
Oh, absolutely. So, you know, we know how important gratitude is. I mean, it's what we all want to experience, yet it's not happening all the time. And there are quite a few reasons, and we're going to more of them, but let's stay with the one that you're talking about is when we hold grudges, when we hold anger and resentment, those emotions do not allow us to experience any form of gratitude. But yes, the beauty about it is that when we get to a point of understanding and forgiving, now suddenly, but let me just take you a little bit back into that process of, if you feel, and you know, we've all been challenged in that. People have been challenged in many ways, where people have been hurt, They've been abused in all kinds of forms. But if they can go back, you know, our life is about balance, and it's even about balance of the emotions. Sure. If we can go back to that instance, and I told you about my dad. My dad was a very challenging individual. And throughout my life, for most of my life, all I could recall was the pain, and there was anger and resentment. But once I went back, and I now started actually very consciously looking at my life and what it is that was good, because the very fact that I'm here where I am now shows that there must have been good and beautiful things happening even at the time of the challenges. And when you go back and you look for those and you suddenly realize, oh my God, my dad did so much for me. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had this. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had this character. And when you sort that out, which is in a sense seeking to be grateful for, suddenly everything that was negative and painful just shrinks. Because now understanding and forgiveness just comes so much easier. And with that, remember, we can't hold in a moment. It is impossible to hold a negative and positive emotion together. You can't. Just like love and fear, they never can coexist in a moment. So you need to be able to eliminate the one to experience the other. And that is where the whole issue of forgiveness and understanding. But it's even in the process of gratitude that you get to that point of forgiveness, of understanding. And when you get to that point, you are now even so much more open to the things that you are grateful for in your life. To realize that.
Yeah, carry on. Yes.
No, I was just saying, to realize that because you are here where you are, good things happened. Yes, there may have been these negative things, but there had to have been good things. Maybe not necessarily from the people who pained you and hurt you, but if you looked around you, and I'll explain about the brain and why that actually happens when we miss the good and actually are just focused on the negative.
So, what are the obstacles to experiencing gratitude? Like okay. Common man, so, ordinary people like us who are not, sort of elevated spiritually, what stops them from experiencing and expressing gratitude?
Yeah, and remember, it's not just particular people, even people who've reached certain levels of their development, we slip into those modes because that's life. Life happens. We get challenged in many ways.
Climbing, you're sliding. That's always the
Absolutely.
case.
And that is why the most important thing, the value of gratitude lies in its practice. And I'll tell you why we need to cultivate it. So our brains, and I think this is really important to understand, and I'm going to just put it as simplistically as possible. Our brains are primed to do two things. The one is to protect us from harm, and the other is to give us things that do us good. That's its prime function. But if you think about things that will harm us, for example, you've been attacked by a wild animal, that's urgent, it's important.
Primal brain, so to say, survival.
Yeah. So the brain, our primitive brain. So the brain focus is more on seeking out the things that will harm us rather than seeking out the things that will bring us good. If I missed a meal for a day or two, or if I didn't have a roof over my head, not urgent and important to the brain. But if I was placed in the path of danger, that's urgent and important. So that's why the brain focuses. It's constantly seeking out the negative to protect us. But in the process of doing that, it almost flits past, almost bypasses the good that is happening. That is why gratitude doesn't come so naturally. It's because of the way our brain functions, constantly seeking out the negative. So that's the first important thing to remember. So let's look at other obstacles. I think one of the biggest one, and it's becoming quite a concern, is the sense of entitlement. And we see the sense of entitlement more and more in children and young people. When you have a sense that I am deserving of this, I was cheated, I was harmed, so I deserve this. And because I deserve this, I don't see any reason why I should be grateful. And that is really becoming more and more of an a dangerous sentiment almost, that we have young people being raised and growing up with a sense of, I'm entitled to it. I'm entitled to special privileges.
Yes, because we're having nuclear families now, parents are both working. So they go out of their way, to sort of mollycoddle the child and give whatever the child wants. So he develops that.
And they believe, this is my entitlement. I'm entitled to this. Why should I be grateful? This is my right. So that's one of the huge things. One of the other things is the comparison. When we start comparing. And again, I get quite concerned about the media and social media. So social media is constantly portraying the perfect figure, the 6 abs, the slim guy, the beautiful car, the successful job, the beautiful home, the beautiful travels. People are being bombarded. Now, the majority of people don't have that. They don't have it. Majority of people don't have it, but they've been bombarded with it constantly. So they become more and more aware of what they don't have, what they want, what they don't have, and they lose sight of what it is that they do have. They lose sight of those little things that years down the line, they start realizing, oh my God, those little things were such big things, because they've been bombarded about the things that they don't have, and they start hankering after it. And, when we compare, and we're either looking up to people who we perceive as having so much more than what we do, or we're looking down at those who don't have. But that's the thing about gratitude. It eliminates both those. It eliminates the need for comparison. And with that comes this whole sense of abundance.
Yes.
The other thing is, we all know this one. The brain, again, loves new things, novelty and reward. You know how easy it is to be grateful for your new car, your new job, your new relationship. Absolutely. But now this is what happens. So you've got your new car, your new job, this new beautiful relationship when we're young, and you're so grateful for, it's easy to be grateful for the things that you've just received and that I knew. But now you start getting accustomed to it. It becomes an intrinsic part of your life. You don't notice it anymore. And your brain now starts saying, let's look for something new. The new love of my life, the new car.
It happens with relationships now, and today it's become
as well, even places. Initially in a beautiful, for example, holy place, you in awe with it, you are so grateful for it. Then you live there, you become accustomed to it, and you don't even notice it anymore. And you start seeking newer pastures. And that's how ingratitude builds, because you're not appreciating what you have and what is there, so that is probably another really important one. And I suppose another one would be the sense of, I'm independent, I don't need anybody, which we know is a total fallacy. No one ever does not. Our entire lives are built on the efforts and sweat of other people and their efforts. And when we have the sense of independence, it almost comes with a sense of self-importance and arrogance, and that takes away that need to look around and be grateful for others in your life and what everybody else does. That plate of food that you have on your table, how many people did it take to get that plate of food on your table? The house that you live under, how many people were involved in getting that house? How can we possibly even think we independent? We're not. We're an interdependent race. We need each other, but we need to show gratitude. The comfort that I had this morning, I took my dirt bins out and I was reminded to be grateful to these people who come around and clean my roads and remove my dirt, because it's because of them that I can lead the comfortable, clean lives that I'm living. So I think it's an appreciation of the importance of other people in our lives.
Yes, that's what Gandhiji taught, to appreciate dignity of labor, because especially those are the people, as you said, who makes our surroundings, habitable for us. It's clean and it's ship-shape. So
absolutely,
you have showed us the importance and the need for gratitude. So what are the ways in which we can cultivate an attitude of gratitude, especially among the young?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because and have a sense of, as you said, being everything. So
yeah, and maybe we could also get others engaged in this, because there are so many ways, and obviously the one that I suppose for me, one of the things is, so let me just tell you about the science of this as well too. So there's that greatest School of Good in the University of California in Berkeley. They actually do just research on gratitude. It's amazing. But they have shown that if you could go into a short meditation and just focus on something you are grateful for 20 seconds, just do that every day for 20 seconds. Or write a letter of gratitude to anybody. And you don't have to send the letter, but just the writing of that letter, and you spend 20 minutes a week, once a week on that. The impact that actually has on your brain is incredible. So first of all, if we think the effort is too much, there's the evidence that you just have to be consistent in doing that. We're all familiar with the gratitude journal. I mean, there's something about writing that urges, that induces amazing feelings.
And the best part of it is I never knew about this idea of gratitude journaling till I came to coaching and I met Sushma Jakkar, who was my coach, and she introduced me to gratitude journaling. And, she would have this Dawn Achievers Club, which we would meet every day at 6 a.m. for an hour. And she actually took us through this exercise of gratitude journaling. And that is where I discovered in me a very different person, whom I had never, ever sort of known about. Very surprising.
Yeah. And of course, it all starts with awareness. You can't change what you are not aware of. So it's the awareness, even with those thoughts when you're comparing yourself to others and what's happening on social media, is to be first of all aware of the thoughts that you're having, of the hankering you're having, to remind you then, once you have the awareness, now you can change it and say, but hey, what have I got that's happening in my life that's good? Even when things happen, and this is particularly doctors, and I'm sure Dr. Mona Lisa, when you're a young doctor, you can for years be practicing well, but you just make that one little mistake and whoa, the brain suddenly highlights that. And you forget about all the amazing things that you've done. Your life is filled with umpteen good things, but one little incident happens and you've forgotten all those, oops, I'm sorry. And you've forgotten all those good things that happened in your life. So it's the awareness. When things go wrong, is to say, hey, but what's going right? The reframing of things. So the gratitude journal, that awareness and reframing of things. And then there's the one that I really like. You can either use a box or a jar. And think about it throughout your day. The minute you see someone and, oh God, I'm so grateful for him, you can use colored papers or something and just write, I am so grateful. My husband walks in the door. I am so grateful for this man being in my life. And I fold it and I put it in the jar. And the next thing, I'm so grateful for this. Do that once, twice, thrice a day. And watch what happens over weeks and months. And suddenly you've got this jar or this box that's overflowing with these notes. Now, when you find you're in yourself where you, oh, poor me, I'm feeling so sorry for myself. I've just been injured. I just lost this job. This doesn't, why are people go to that jar, that box, and now you start saying, this is all drama. What's in this box? This is the actual life. This is what my life is about. And start just reading those little notes. And there's umpteen things for children. I think they've got incredible. I'm not sure if the others who are here would like to perhaps
ask a question.
One
more thing,
or contribute to what practices they have.
Yes. Yeah, so there's one very beautiful thing I was reading the other day, and that is reverse gap. What you're talking about. So he's saying that we are always thinking of like, this is my current situation, and that is my desired situation. And between that, there's a gap, and I have to cross that gap. But what I forget is that the path I have traversed, where was I last year? Where was I 5 years before that? 10 years before that? So the minute I begin to weigh, or rather imagine and traverse that reverse gap, I will be grateful. Gratitude will automatically flow from the depths of my heart when I am able to assess what I was then and
where
what
am I
I
now?
have evolved to today.
Exactly. Rather than where I want to be, especially when we're struggling to get to where we want to be, but say, where I come from, look where I have come from and how I have grown and all the amazing things that have happened in my life to get me to where I am now, instead of constantly fretting and worrying about where I want to be. Absolutely.
So just one more thing before we open up to the house, so to say, is that you're aware that I'm going to create this mastermind for women 30 to 60. Basically, women who have bottled up their emotions and who are unable to express it, and who therefore are going through intense internal distress, which they're not able to express. So as a doctor, as a healer, as a coach, how important do you think it is to express our emotions in our daily life?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, to suppress negative emotions is destructive. Again, lots of evidence to show that. Destroys your immune system, whereas gratitude is the reverse. It causes all sorts of emotional negative states, anxiety, depression, death through suicide. And then the expression of gives release to that when we can express and share that with others, even if you can't do it verbally, but even the putting down on a piece of paper. I get people to do those blind writing, just to give release to those emotions. But what about the other emotions? The beautiful emotions that we can express that elevates our vibration, and we know when we raise our vibration, we transmute that to others. We raise the vibration of others. So instead of worrying about where other people are at in their lives, raise your vibration with the positivity, with the expression of the beauty that you are, the impact it has on other people. So there are no words to tell, to describe the importance of expression. Giving expression to two things. What it does not only for us, but more importantly, the impact it has on other people. When we share with others, we open those others to sharing and releasing their and speaking their truths. So no, without a doubt, important.
These are beautiful and profound and insightful truths that you have shared, Mariam. And I'm sure all of us have been enriched. Prabhunath has just come, so let me acknowledge him. Ramya is here throughout, and Mona Lisa has made time for us in spite of her heavy schedule. So please unmute yourselves and join in the conversation. Prabhunath came pretty late, but then I'll share the recording with you.
No issues. I still can catch up whatever best is possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we were actually exploring gratitude and forgiveness, and Mariam, from from the medical point of view and the scientific point of view, was telling us about the importance of gratitude, how it affects our brain, the neurons, etc., and throwing a more scientific light on what our great souls in India and in all parts of the world who have always taught us the importance of gratitude. But now we know that there's a scientific, underpinning to it. So Shalaja, I'm so glad that you have appreciated this session that we had organized, and I'll share it with the others. And Ramya, you can also chip in if you are willing to come on, or are you busy?
Yeah, I'm listening to the conversation. It's interesting.
Yeah, it would be very nice to actually hear from others on kind of practices that you
exactly. And Mona Lisa, are you busy?
Kind of gratitude practices that you embrace.
Yes, Mona, can you come in and share? Great insight.
Dr. Mona Lisa, if she's not, it means she's busy working.
Yeah, she's written great insights. She's written great insights. Yes. So Prabhu, you can join us. He's into spirituality in a very big way. So he can really throw light on what are his practices to elevate.
So I can say that gratitude is the ultimate thing. You know, when we complete our meditation, after it's over, there are a number of things we do. The last thing then, you know, at the end, we start giving the gratitude. Experience to everything that exists in the universe.
I know. Yes.
We express gratitude to everything because whatever is there in the universe, in your knowledge, and also which are not in your knowledge, they have impact on your life. They contribute to your life. So whosoever, whatever is contributing to your life, you should be feeling gratitude towards that, because your existence means a lot.
And you're
From there,
dependent on them, you know, for sustenance. That is why we have this concept of
everything,
Vasudhaiva
everything.
Kutumbakam. You know that the world is an interdependent family in every level.
Yeah. So it is like on a cellular level also, tangible, intangible level also, animate, inanimate level also, everything. So on an atomic level also. It means on a consciousness level, you are everything and everything is you. That only can happen when you feel that kind of gratitude towards that. So simple, my contribution to this talk.
Tattvam asi. You are that, or thou art that.
Absolutely. And we opened up by saying that the connection it gives to self, your soul, you connect to that, your soul connecting to the soul of others, and all the souls, because that's all we are. We're all part of all that is. There is no separation whatsoever. But the power of gratitude to help us get in touch with that, that's the amazing thing. And that's the actual ultimate, isn't it? Once we appreciate the fact that we are part of the source, and that's all that there is nothing else. And it's a source that is continuously supporting, guiding us in every atom of our lives, in every aspect. You can't separate anything. Absolutely, it's priceless.
Yes, I remember in school, you know, the little ones and the big ones, they have the same prayer. And I remember the girls in class 12, you know, they would sort of feel conscious and embarrassed to say the prayer that, you know, thank you, God, for the food we eat. Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the birds that sing. Thank you, God, for everything. And I remember when the KG children would say that, you know, they would say with such fervor and close their eyes and really mean it. And class 12, when they said it, they said, please, why do we have to say this baby prayer? But, you know, but it is so symbolic. It's like a metaphor for everything that we owe to others.
And I think that's really we need to inculcate is the ongoing practice, because they can just become rituals and words. You know, it's easy for a child just to see it as that. And of course, as they enter their teens, they kind of think, oh gosh, not this again, seriously.
Exactly. That's silly. Same thing they would say, such a silly prayer. Why do we have to say that in class 11?
Absolutely. So we need to find ways and means of really inculcating it as a primary emotion. You know, but
unfortunately, Mariam, what happens in school, you know, the model science classes are used for general knowledge. They don't really take them through moral values or, you know, value exploration. It's used for anything but teaching moral science. So parents are too busy teaching them values. The grandparents are there in only very few homes where they share stories, you know, fables and mythological stories, but which have a lot of human value. So, you know, there's a vacuum there. Parents are too busy. There's no bedtime stories which they would share. The elderly in a joint family would share. So somewhere there needs to be a bridge. And I think
they've got to be exposed. They've got to be exposed to the ongoing expression and showing of it in a family. where it's natural. Children say, but this is what we do. If mom tells dad how appreciative she is of what he's done for her, of having her in his life, and it's been said all the time, and dad says it to mom, and mom says it to me, and it becomes a natural emotion that is just continued, the child has continuously been exposed to, and feels they need to feel that emotion that gratitude brings, the receiving and the expression of it and what it feels like, because that's what we attach to. Oh my God, this feels so good. I want more of this.
Beautiful thoughts, really. Ramya, would you like to contribute anything? Join us in saying something before we...
Yes, Vaijayanti. Thank you so much, Mariam, and then Vaijayanti for actually conducting the session. Very useful. And then I want to maybe say a small tip which I follow whenever I wake up or whenever I go before sleep. I say a small prayer, gratitude for 3 things that are present in my life. And all the day it's very shocking for me, but all the day it is, I thank you, God, for having an amazing daughter, for having a lovely husband and lovely family. Whenever I think of my top 3, it's always my family. I have been blessed with a very good family. So when I realize that when I do this exercise, I appreciate more. I appreciate what is already present more. And then when life is hard, when I feel very sad or bad, and I take a deep breath, and then I realize how many people doesn't have the ability to breathe, doesn't have the privilege to walk on this earth. Still, here I am, and I have to thank God for here I am. I have to thank God for breathing healthily, for breathing happily. So these are the 2 things that I practice in my daily life. And thank you so much for the amazing session, Mariam and Vaijayanti. I really love the initiative of sharing the knowledge.
And I mean, just the fact that we can connect different parts of the world. You there in India and I'm here at the southern tip of Africa. I mean, isn't that something to be so grateful for?
It's fantastic. I mean, this is one thing that, Arfin has literally gifted us through the program. We are connecting heart to heart and soul to soul, and through Zoom. So Zoom, of course, has to, get accolades.
We should be grateful to Zoom.
That's what I'm saying, that we have to accolades to Zoom for providing us that technology, that we can reach out and touch hearts and, connect to each other emotionally.
And the most important thing is when we can be so grateful for those challenges. When we are grateful for the challenges that come in our life, because we know from the basis that every single thing that happens in my life happens in my best interest. I may not be able to see it now, but I'm so grateful for it because I know it is going to be revealed at some point in my life. And that's why we
have that proverb that every cloud has a silver lining. We learned that from very young. So all these, actually these proverbs, I was, sort of ruminating and reflecting that they have profound truths. That is why these proverbs have been formed,
They shouldn't just become words. They unfortunately end up just being words that we flop around.
Something you learn in English, that's it.
Yeah,
but actually they contain very profound
not
truths.
Feeling and knowing that.
Yes.
And that's where the answer lies, isn't it? It's in but again, a lot of it goes so much deeper when we realize who we truly are beyond the things we do and the titles we have and the jobs we have and our relationships. When we realize who we are there, and when we realize our real, true, ultimate purpose in life, again, purpose beyond the things that we do, that's when the magic happens, isn't it? Because that sits at the foundation of everything. And then
I'm walking the earth. I've come here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I may discover it early or late, but then once I have that becomes my, the compass for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. And there's the knowing that my growth is embedded in challenge. It is a natural part of our existence to evolve. And when we see that, now you embrace the challenge and you're so thankful for it. I mean, if I look back at difficult relationships I had with some people, I look back and I realize, oh my God, I learned so much in that process. There is so much that I have to be grateful for. If I could only just see it in the moment, though, you know, sometimes it comes with hindsight.
I know. Very true.
But
The trouble
if you
is,
can,
you know, Mariam, we don't live in the now. We're either living in the past or we are living in the visualized future. You know, if only we lived in the present and really appreciate everything that we have at this moment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that will fill us with a great sense of true fulfillment and happiness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's on this note that we can wind up. And I can tell you it has been a fabulous session. And Mariam, thank you for making time in spite of the earlier hiccups to come back. And I think, again, as you say, you know, that there's every cloud has a silver lining. I think this session has notched a very different trajectory, and maybe this is there to stay.
Yeah, and I wish you well with your mastermind, and I'm sure it's going to take off. It should. You know, when we do it from the heart, it can only but succeed.
This is, you know, something, Mariam, I feel so passionately about, that women are unable to express themselves fully. It's a cultural paradigm that we are living in. You know, we never tell a husband, I love you. We express it in service. We express it in emotions, you know, maybe even in physical intimacy. But to say those words, at least my generation, you know, we had that veil over ourselves.
Yeah, all these social limitations, our upbringing, our programming, you know, they sometimes haven't been very useful in serving. But one of the things that makes people who do what you do very successful is the fact that they are extremely grateful for the opportunity to be able to impact on the lives of others. When we come from that place of, I am so grateful that I have been given this chance and this opportunity to impact and change the lives of others, all I feel is gratitude, and that's all that matters. Because that's the place we should come from, isn't it? That deep sense of gratitude of an opportunity to be able to do
as
this.
Wives, as daughter-in-laws, you know, then all friction, conflicts will be sublimated, because you realize you are there to reach out a hand to impact their lives in a positive way, just as they are there to also serve you in your journey of growth.
Absolutely.
And
so I must thank you, Vijay, for giving me the chance to remind myself about the importance and the need for this practice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mariam, and thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Raja.
Thank you, Ramya.
Mona Lisa, in spite of your heavy schedule, you are still there with us. And Ramya, thank you for making time. Usha did come.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Mariam.
Okay, bye-bye. You know, these are things which I feel very deeply. So maybe I will be taking up with others also. You know, on the 17th, I have a session with Astha Dikshit. Because dance again, yes, she's a Kathak dancer. And dance again is a medium of reaching out to divinity, sadhana, you know, touching the super consciousness, as well as, you know, serving, giving a message to the world of unity, of inclusivity. So I'll invite you to that on the 17th.
Thank you. Have a blessed week, all of you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Mariam. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining in.